Before we go any further, I need you to sit with this for a second. Someone has been saying your name a lot more than you think, and not in silence, not in passing, but in conversations that carry emotion, curiosity, and something they can't quite control. Because when someone talks about you repeatedly, it's never neutral, it's never casual. It means you've taken up space in their mind, and most men completely miss what that really means. Before I explain this, make sure you subscribe and like the video, because what you're about to understand will change how you read people forever. Now listen carefully. When a woman starts mentioning you to others, friends, co-workers, even people you don't know, she's not just bringing you up, she's processing you. She's trying to understand what you mean to her. And here's the part most men get wrong. They assume talking equals interest, but it's deeper than that. It's emotional investment. People don't talk about someone repeatedly unless that person triggers something inside them. Curiosity, confusion, excitement, sometimes even frustration. But indifference? Indifference stays silent. So if your name is circulating in her world, it means you've already crossed a psychological threshold. You are no longer just a guy she knows. You are now a topic. And being a topic means you are affecting her decisions, her mood, her thoughts when she's alone. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. The way she talks about you matters more than the fact that she talks about you. Because sometimes the repetition isn't about admiration. It's about trying to make sense of you. You confuse her, you intrigue her, or you don't behave the way she expected, and now she's seeking validation from others. She's trying to figure you out. And men who are easy to figure out don't get talked about this much. So if you're sensing that something is happening behind the scenes, conversations you're not part of, opinions being formed about you in rooms you've never entered, you're not imagining it. The real question isn't, is she talking about me? It's, why can't she stop? You need to understand something most men never realize. When she talks about you repeatedly, she's not just sharing information. She's revealing emotion without realizing it. Because the human mind doesn't revisit what feels neutral. It returns to what feels unresolved. And you've become unresolved in her world. Think about that for a moment. If you were predictable, she would have already categorized you. If you were boring, you wouldn't even come up. But when a woman brings you into multiple conversations, across different moments with different people, it means you've interrupted her expectations. And that interruption creates tension. She might say your name casually. Oh yeah, he said this. Or, I saw him do that. But underneath those words is something far more revealing. She's replaying interactions. She's analyzing tone. She's questioning meaning. Why did he look at me like that? Why didn't he text back immediately? Why did that moment feel different? And here's the part that hits deeper than most men are ready for. She doesn't do this for everyone. There are dozens of people in her life she barely mentions. But you've entered a loop, a mental replay she can't easily shut off. And when that happens, she turns to others not because she needs gossip, but because she needs perspective. She's asking indirectly, what do you think this means? Now here's where your awareness becomes power. If she's talking about you to friends, those friends are forming opinions about you too. They are shaping how she sees you, reinforcing or challenging her feelings, which means your presence is expanding, even when you're not physically there. You're influencing a network, and that's dangerous, in a good way, if you understand it. Because mystery amplifies conversation. When you don't fully explain yourself, when your actions don't perfectly match expectations, when you remain calm where others would chase or overexpress, you create something rare, psychological gravity. She keeps coming back to you in her mind because there's something she hasn't fully figured out yet, and humans are wired to solve what feels incomplete. But be careful. This doesn't mean you should play games or become emotionally unavailable. It means you should be intentional, grounded, consistent in your core, but not predictable in a way that kills intrigue. Because once she fully solves you, the conversations slow down, and so does the feeling. Now I want you to hear this clearly, because this is where most men misinterpret everything. Just because she's talking about you doesn't automatically mean she's in love with you, but it does mean you have her attention, and attention is the first currency of emotional attachment. And attention, once it spreads into other people's ears, becomes something else entirely. It becomes identity shaping. Let me explain. When a woman talks about you to her friends, she is not only sharing what you did, she is also testing how she should feel about you. She listens to reactions, she absorbs opinions, she compares their responses with her own emotions. And slowly, something subtle happens. Her feelings stop being fully private, they start being influenced. So if her friends say, "He seems interesting," she leans in a little more. If they say, "Be careful," she becomes more cautious, but also more curious. And if they say, "He's nothing special," something strange can happen. She might start defending you internally. That's where emotional attachment quietly begins. Because the moment she feels like she has to explain you to others, you've already taken root in her mind. Now, here's what most men miss completely. The conversations aren't always positive. Sometimes she talks about you because you confused her. Sometimes because you didn't give her the validation she expected. Sometimes because you made her feel something she can't label yet. And the mind hates what it cannot label. So it tries to define you through conversation. That's why your name keeps showing up in her world. Not because everything is perfect, but because something inside her is still processing you. But there's a deeper layer. Every time she talks about you, she is also reinforcing your presence in her emotional system. Even criticism doesn't remove you. It strengthens mental occupancy. You become more real, not less. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Silence from you often increases this effect. Because when you don't over-explain yourself, when you don't chase every misunderstanding, when you allow space instead of panic, she is left alone with her thoughts of you. And in that space, imagination grows. But I need you to be grounded here. This is not about manipulation. This is about awareness. People talk about what emotionally registers. Your job is not to control the conversation. Your job is to understand why it exists in the first place. Because once you understand that, you stop reacting like a man trying to be chosen and start moving like a man who already understands his impact. There's a moment most men never see, but it happens constantly behind the scenes of modern relationships. She is sitting with her friends, laughing, talking, maybe even pretending it's casual, and then your name comes up again, and something changes in her tone. Not dramatically, not obviously, but subtly, like a pause before she speaks, or the way she rephrases what she was going to say. That pause matters more than the words, because it reveals something important. You are no longer just information to her. You are an emotional signal she has to regulate before she speaks about you. Let that sink in. When someone can mention you without thinking, you are irrelevant. When someone has to adjust themselves before mentioning you, you are emotionally active in their system. Now here's what she's really doing when she talks about you. She's trying to stabilize her internal experience of you. Because you likely don't fit cleanly into one category in her mind. You are not fully predictable, not fully defined, not fully emotionally resolved, and that creates psychological tension. So she talks, not always to expose you, but to understand you through external mirrors. And different people give her different reflections. One friend might say, "He seems confident." Another might say, "He's a bit distant." Another might say, "I don't know about him." And suddenly you are not one fixed identity anymore. You are a collection of interpretations. That is where emotional momentum builds. Because now she is not only thinking about you, she is comparing versions of you. And the more she compares, the less stable her conclusion becomes. This is where men often make a critical mistake. They think they need to fix the narrative. They try to clarify, explain, prove, or chase approval. But psychologically, over-explaining collapses intrigue. Because certainty kills curiosity. And curiosity is what keeps your name alive in her conversations. Now, I want you to be very honest with yourself here. If she already fully understood you, if she already felt completely emotionally settled, your name would not keep appearing in her world. So the real signal is not just that she talks about you, it's that she still hasn't finished forming her conclusion about you. And until she does, you remain mentally present, even when you're physically absent. Now, this is where things get psychologically sharper, so stay with me. There is a difference between a woman talking about a man because she is interested and talking about him because he is affecting her emotional equilibrium. And most men confuse the two. When she is genuinely indifferent, your name doesn't enter her conversations at all. No analysis, no repetition, no retelling of moments. Silence is the real sign of absence. But when you are emotionally active in her system, something different happens. She starts reconstructing you through dialogue. That means she is not just recalling events, she is replaying your behavior through different emotional filters. Was he confident or just distant? Was he uninterested or just controlled? Did I misread that moment? And every question creates more mental loops. Now here's the part most men don't recognize. She doesn't need to be physically with you for this to happen. Your impact lives in memory, and memory is extremely sensitive to emotion. A single strong interaction can echo for weeks if it created confusion, curiosity, or emotional contrast. And when she cannot resolve that internally, she externalizes it. She talks, but not always to get answers, sometimes just to reduce tension. Because talking about you temporarily organizes her thoughts. It gives structure to something that feels emotionally unstructured. However, there's a side effect. Every time she speaks about you, she reactivates emotional memory. She brings you back into her system. She refreshes your presence. So even casual conversations are not neutral. They are reinforcement loops. And now listen carefully. The men who get talked about the most are rarely the ones trying to be understood. They are the ones who are difficult to fully categorize. Not because they are confusing on purpose, but because they are not emotionally reactive in predictable ways. They don't over-pursue when tension appears. They don't over-explain when misunderstood. They don't collapse their identity for approval. And that creates something powerful: ambiguity with stability. She feels like she understands parts of you, but not all of you. And the mind naturally wants to complete incomplete pictures. So she keeps talking, not because she is obsessed in a fantasy sense, but because her mind is still trying to resolve you into something simple. But you are not simple in her perception, and as long as that remains true, you stay mentally active in places you are not physically present. There's something even deeper happening now. And this is where most men completely misunderstand the emotional mechanics at play. When a woman talks about you repeatedly, she is not only processing you, she is also revealing her own emotional state about you. Because people don't repeatedly discuss what feels finished, they revisit what feels unfinished. And unfinished doesn't always mean romantic interest. It can mean curiosity, emotional contrast, or a disrupted expectation of how someone should behave. Now think about your presence in her conversations. If your behavior challenged her assumptions, if you didn't respond the way she expected, if you stayed calm when others would react, or if you didn't chase validation the way most men do, you created a psychological gap. And the mind hates gaps, so she fills them with interpretation. That's why she talks about you to other people, because she is testing those interpretations against external perspectives. But here's what's happening underneath that she may not even realize. Every time she describes you, she is also reinforcing a version of you in her own mind. And that version is not static. It evolves based on what she feels in the moment. One day you are confusing, another day you are interesting, another day you are hard to read, and sometimes even different from others. Do you see the pattern? You are not being placed into a fixed category, you are being re-evaluated repeatedly. And that re-evaluation keeps emotional energy alive. Now here's the truth most men miss completely. You do not need to be constantly present to remain emotionally relevant. You need to be emotionally imprinted. And imprinting happens through moments that create contrast, calmness where chaos was expected, distance where pursuit was expected, or emotional control where reaction was expected. Those contrasts don't disappear easily. They echo. So when she talks about you, she is often not just describing you. She is re-accessing those emotional contrasts. And that is why your presence feels persistent in her social world. Not because she is trying to build something intentionally, but because her mind is still organizing what you mean. And until that meaning stabilizes, the conversation doesn't end. Now I want to bring everything together, because this is where clarity actually changes how you move in your real life. If someone has been talking about you a lot, the biggest mistake you can make is assuming it automatically means one specific thing, like attraction, jealousy, or hidden love. Human psychology is more complex than that. What it does mean is this: you have created emotional relevance. And emotional relevance is what keeps your name alive in conversations, even when you are not physically present. But here is the part you need to be careful with. Being talked about is not the same as being valued correctly. Sometimes people talk about you because they admire something in you, sometimes because they are confused by you, sometimes because they are trying to reduce uncertainty, and sometimes because you triggered an emotion they don't fully understand yet. The meaning is never in the fact alone. It is in the emotional tone behind it. So instead of chasing signs or trying to decode every mention of your name, the real shift is this. You stop trying to control how you are discussed, and you focus on who you are consistently becoming. Because the men who stay mentally present in people's conversations are not the ones who force attention. They are the ones who leave a stable emotional impression. Calm, grounded, not easily shaken by perception, not constantly reacting to misunderstanding, not trying to fix every narrative about them. And here is the truth that most men don't hear often enough. You cannot control what people say about you in rooms you are not in, but you can influence the emotional weight they feel when they say it. And that weight is created through behavior, consistency, and self-respect. So if your name is being mentioned right now somewhere in someone else's world, don't panic. Don't overthink it. Don't chase it. Instead, ask a better question. What version of me are they talking about? And does that match who I am becoming? Because at the end of the day, your real power is not in being discussed. It is in being understood correctly by your actions, even when you are not in the room.